Alrighty, so welcome back, and it's time for part 2 of answering your assumptions about my life as a trainee corporate lawyer in London. And I'm just going to dive straight in. I was talking, if you haven't already watched part 1, go and watch it after you've watched this, because it's obviously just as great and interesting and informative as this is going to be. I was talking about work-life balance, and I've had tons of assumptions here. I'm just looking through them now. There are tons about how I don't have much time, I have no work-life balance, I don't have time to see my friends and my family, and I'm gonna flat out say that just isn't true. I have worked a few weekends. Over the course of a year, I've worked under 10 weekends, I reckon. And when you add up all of the days of the weekend, so we have 104 days throughout the whole year that are just weekend days. We then have in the UK 8 bank holidays. So that takes us to 112 days you should have. I think I've worked, let's say, probably 15 weekend days, which leaves me with 97 days. I hope I've done the maths right, but if not, it'll magically appear on screen. And you know, it leaves me with 97 days. We then also get 25 days of holiday each year. So that takes me up to 122 days a year off. Yeah, it's literally about a third of a year off. And so I, on those days, get to make videos. I get to spend time with Beth. I get to run businesses. I get to talk to people. I get to see friends, family, and I have a very large family, given that both Beth and my parents are divorced. I have like multiple sets of grandparents up the chain. Anyway, I have, you know, lots of family. I have some friends, and I do have time to see them and to spend time with them. And I just have to make sure that that time is really quality, because I want to prioritize being able to make videos on this channel. I want to prioritize doing really well in my job. I also want to prioritize quality time with Beth. I just cut down all of the other stuff that kind of, I think people spend time doing, like watching. I don't watch that much TV. I watch a little bit to relax. I don't, you know, read tons of fiction books, which some people love doing. If that's something you're passionate about, then, you know, you're going to have to make other sacrifices in other areas of your life. You would probably have time to have a YouTube channel alongside your job as a corporate lawyer. Everyone has to make sacrifices and decisions. And, you know, I think while being certainly a trainee forces you to make those decisions, because of the up and down nature, as I discussed in the last video, of the work, there are, I don't know why I did that. That was very, I'm not very cool, as you can tell. Corporate lawyer is really not that cool. I would say that. That is an assumption that actually no one said, and definitely true. And I can't even remember what I was talking about now. Yeah, but I do have time to do stuff outside of like having a job. Clearly, if you didn't have like a channel like this, which took up your time as well, you'd have even more time to see friends and family and do fun stuff. There is absolutely time to go on holiday, do all the stuff that young people want to do, and make good money doing this. But you're just gonna have a little bit less time than if you did another job. Okay, now let's kind of move on. And the other assumptions that I've got here are all about kind of boring, maybe. This one. So this, I guess, feeds into lawyers being uncool. It wasn't so much uncool, but you did go for boring. This one, wow, that you have to robotically churn out 50 red lines a day like a technologically gifted ape. And for those of you like non-lawyers in the audience, red lines are basically kind of comparisons of documents. So you'll have document A and then you'll make some changes and then you'll run what's called a red line, because I don't know, people call them black lines, people call them red lines. Basically a document when you compare one with the other that shows you all of the changes that have been made, kind of like in track changes if you've ever used that. So someone else has said, is it as interesting as it sounds? I don't know if they are joking and if they think it's very boring, or if they're genuinely asking if I make it sound I don't know, do I make it sound interesting? I hope I make it sound a little bit interesting. I can't tell if that's sarcasm. Honestly, I think, look, there are boring tasks. If you start a job, and I've had this discussion with Beth many times, and I think given I've had this conversation with her and tons of other people I know who have just started out in careers, I am confident that every single job you do when you first start, and indeed if you ran your own business when you first start, there are many, many boring tasks. And that is no different being a trainee lawyer. You're at the bottom of the pile, you are learning as you go along, you know very little. And so yes, you do have to do boring tasks. You do have to run red lines occasionally. I would say, actually, I'll come back onto that. There are boring tasks. There are tasks like filling in comments when partners have handwritten comments all over a document and you then have to manually type those in. You do learn a little bit from doing that if you pay attention and try to learn from them, seeing, okay, why have they commented that, trying to actively engage. And that is probably my biggest piece of advice to make those boring tasks bearable, is to see, okay, let's make this difficult for myself and work out, why is this partner commenting this? Maybe it adds a little bit of extra time to it, but fundamentally for your personal development, it is fantastic. But yeah, that task is probably inherently fairly boring. I think the mistake people make, and this is one thing I've said before in my other day in the life videos, you're going to get given boring tasks. And if you do a bad job of those, what's going to happen is the person is going to think, well, they were incapable of doing this boring task, so I'm going to give them an even easier, probably even more boring task. What you need to do, I think, is equate boring to like intellectually unstimulating, or mindless ape, as someone said. And, you know, if you think of yourself, right, if I show myself to be a mindless ape, like I get given this task that even a mindless ape could do, and that's obviously a slight exaggeration, but if you do a bad job of that task, you're just going to get another 10 boring tasks until you prove that actually you can do them effectively, and then maybe you'll get something a little bit harder. And I think if you think about it like that, like you have to prove your worth, you have to prove that you can do those boring tasks, that you can do the simple things well. And if you're able to do that and you prove yourself, then you'll get more interesting tasks, you'll get more difficult, fundamentally like intellectually stimulating tasks as you go along. There will still be boring tasks. There are always going to be boring tasks in anything anyone ever does, but those will definitely significantly decrease as you go through your career, and certainly as you kind of prove, even at an early stage in your career, that you're capable of, you know, doing more than just running black lines or red lines. Really weird, they call them both. I don't know. Last thing to say on this is that certainly in UK law firms, even more so than I think in the US firms, these firms have invested tons in A, technology, and B, in kind of expanding their teams first overseas. So for example, we have a team in India, and also, you know, throughout the UK. So we have another team in Newcastle, and these teams are incredible. They have very specialist roles. There are basically tools within law firms that make trainees' lives better than they've probably ever been before, because, you know, frankly, it's cheaper to have someone who isn't a trainee do these things than someone who is. So yeah, I think that's also worth bearing in mind, is that actually when you're in this career, you've really got to get used to, even at an early stage, delegating things that can be delegated, like putting in comments, like running black lines, and that will stand you in very good stead moving forward. So before we go any further, let me quickly tell you about today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare taught me how to edit my videos when I was first starting out on YouTube with their amazing classes on Final Cut Pro, as well as their online learning community to help answer my questions. One of the best courses I've taken recently was Thomas Frank's course, Productivity for Creatives. It's massively helped me up the quality of my videos, I think, and be more consistent where I previously had struggled to post regularly. So yeah, as part of investing in myself, I often dedicate time to learning new things on Skillshare, whether that be editing sweet Instapics or living more sustainably. Skillshare has enabled me to connect with fellow creatives and motivated me to never stop learning. The first 1,000 people to use the link in my description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership, and after that, it's really affordable. Okay, so from what I can see, there's probably like 2 more topics to discuss. First one, sort of similar to in the first video where I talked about the brutal environment, although this is slightly different. This is basically like saying, I think that all people within this profession are the same. So all of your peers studied at top Russell Group unis. There's another one that everyone you work with went to Cambridge. Definitely not the case. Some of them went to Oxford too. No, like that is absolutely the case. Most of the top law firms now are looking for diverse people. They're looking for people who think differently, who come from different backgrounds, because there's very little use in having, you know, a load of Oxford and Cambridge graduates who all went to private school, who all have a very similar way of thinking and doing things. And while there definitely is still a bias towards those people because they tend to have the best academic grades, which is just a sad fact, the kind of emphasis on ensuring, I think, from university level upwards, that there is a focus on really trying to cultivate talent and really exceptional people, no matter where they come from, and taking into account kind of the background that they come from. And I think that's, you know, a really positive thing. There's still a way to go, but that's definitely a movement. And so I would 100% say not every one of these law firms is the same. There are increasingly, although not enough, people from diverse backgrounds and schemes and opportunities encouraging people to apply and enter into the world of law from diverse backgrounds. There's a way to go, but hopefully by watching this, maybe some of the people in my audience are thinking, hey, I could be a lawyer, I could believe in myself. And I'm hoping that, I think a lot of that comes historically from people not believing that they can become lawyers, or from seeing no one like themselves. And here I am, I'm obviously a white guy who did also go to private school, although on a scholarship. But yeah, I'm not exactly breaking that mold. And so I hope that just by seeing this though and hearing this, it encourages you maybe to think, actually, I could be a lawyer. I don't have to have had, my dream of becoming a lawyer since I was 13. I certainly didn't. I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do when I was at school. You don't have to have gone to private school. You don't have to have gone to Oxbridge. You don't even have to have gone to university to become a lawyer. There are people on now who are getting training contracts at my law firm at CC who, have had the strangest paths to get there, who didn't necessarily even do A-levels, who got onto a law course and who then have done really well at law university, even though they did really badly in their A-levels, and have shown passion and commitment to the career, have done a variety of things before entering the profession. The diversity of people entering the profession is increasing. And so I want people to believe that, if you want to enter this profession, if you want to make it a more diverse place, like we all have an interest in every single profession being diverse and in having just people who think differently from one another. That is just the most productive environment to be in. Thank you so much for watching. If you are new here, please do subscribe. Please do, everyone, like this video. It makes such a big difference to how my channel does. And leave me a comment with your thoughts. If you have any more questions, any more assumptions you'd like, I'm Sean Connery. No, if you have any more assumptions that you would like answering, do leave them down in the comments. Finally, if you've enjoyed this, you will almost certainly enjoy one of my 2 days in the life as a corporate lawyer, or my video where I break down my hourly wage as a corporate lawyer. And I look forward to speaking to you again very, very soon. Thanks for watching.